Welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm Kathleen Walter. Republican and Libertarian Ron Paul is breaking with his fellow Republicans and his son Rand in support of the proposed mosque at Ground Zero. The 2008 presidential candidate and congressman from Lake Jackson, Texas, joins us now via the phone. Welcome back to Newsmax TV, Representative Paul.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
You released a statement saying that it looks to you like the politicians are fiddling while the economy burns. The debate should have provided the conservative defenders of property rights with a perfect example of how the right to own property also protects the First Amendment's rights of assembly and religion by supporting the building of the mosque. Why do you think then that so many conservatives are largely against it?
I think most conservatives are very, very much in support of our empire. And that means that they like the idea of troops being around the world. They support, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and actually support plans for intimidating and moving toward war in Iran. And they have to have a reason for that. They can't say it's for oil, or they can't say it's, to make them all Democrats over there. So they have to have a target to get people to die in a war. You have to have somebody you hate. You have to have a Hitler to hate. And therefore, they have chosen the Muslim religion, and it started, of course, with 9/11. The Al-Qaeda that attacked us were all Muslims, so therefore all Muslims are hateful, rather than narrowing it just to that one group. But then that was the excuse to go into Iraq, even though Iraq had zero to do with 9/11. Saudi Arabia had a lot more to do with it, so it was an excuse to pursue a foreign policy that had already been planned. So it was Iraq first, and then Afghanistan, and Pakistan, and soon it'll be Iran. So they have to keep the drumbeat of hate up, so they have to blame the entire religion.
Representative, you've written and you've said that the debate is about hate and Islamophobia, but the developers of the mosque will not rule out accepting funds from Iran, which pledges death to the United States and Israel. A number of Americans see its construction at Ground Zero as an act of provocation. Are you saying then that Americans have absolutely no reason to be concerned about this?
No, I don't think so. Just think of how much money we pumped into Saudi Arabia. We prop up their king, and they have the madrasa schools, and we taught them to be radicals when we were supporting Osama bin Laden in Afghanistan. I think it's we never treat anybody else. It's building a church or a mosque or synagogue to check out exactly where the money's coming from and what everybody believes in. If something turns up, then you deal with it if they break the law. But in religion and in freedom of speech, you keep people with the benefit of the doubt. A newspaper doesn't have prior restraint, and I think when that is suggested that we check out everything that they're doing, that's prior restraint. And that would mean that you endorse the idea that the government should come in and check out our interview right now and find out that we offend nobody. So, no, I don't want the government checking into the funding of anything like this and, implying that, bad people have supported it.
Now, Newsmax TV recently interviewed your son, Rand Paul, who's running for the U.S. Senate in Kentucky. Here's what he had to say about the mosque.
I think that if the Islamic community in the United States wants to send a signal that they are very much opposed to what happened at 9/11, and I think there are many good Muslims in our country who do believe that, I think the better symbolism, though, would be to go ahead and give a donation to the Memorial Fund to show that they are for reconciliation rather than building a mosque, which I think is doing the opposite right now.
Have you two had spirited debates on this?
No, we've really not even talked about it, but I think he's in that same category that I talked about a minute ago, that people that might say that they shouldn't do it, for public relations reasons because it's offensive, they're quite different than the instigators that want to beat the war drums to make sure we have an enemy to fight and justify our occupations overseas.
Okay, well, let's talk about Iran. If Israel strikes Iran's nuclear facilities, how should the U.S. respond, in your opinion?
Well, I think we should come home. I think that we should come home in the literal sense. We shouldn't be there provoking war with Iran, because if Israel knew that we weren't going to be there And if Israel does it without our permission and gets themselves in a mess, they make the assumption, which is the moral hazard of our foreign policy. They make the assumption that we'll be there and do anything whatsoever and sacrifice more money and men, if a major war breaks out. But if we back away from that, the sooner the better. Hopefully we would do it before the war breaks out. But if they take it upon themselves, that's going to have to be their business. I just don't think we're the world policeman. I don't want to be the world policeman. I think it's a lousy job. I don't want to have an empire because we can't afford it. And too many people die, and it's endless. It never stops. Our war is spreading into Yemen and Somalia and possibly Iran. So I would tell Israel they're on their own. I don't believe in foreign aid for any country. The Arab Muslim nations get more foreign aid than Israel gets. So if you'd stop all foreign aid, it would actually be an assistance to Israel, but they would be denied the funds, and I think that they'd be less likely to have a war, and there'd be more peace in the world.
There are Ron Paul for President in 2012 bumper stickers on various Ron Paul websites. Is it official? Are you planning a run in 2012?
No, I have no plans for that, and I need to check that out because a lot of websites say Ron Paul on them, but I would be surprised if there's a website that I'm personally responsible for that has those bumper stickers unless it's sort of a ploy of some sort. No, I don't. I don't have any definite plans, but I have definitely not ruled it out either.
If you did run, would you run as a Republican, an independent, or third-party candidate?
If I ran, I would most likely run in the Republican primary.
Okay. And you would expect to make an announcement maybe when?
That wouldn't come until probably springtime.
All right. Representative Ron Paul of Texas, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching Newsmax TV.